Hello, mixtresses and mixters. This is mixtressrae. You're watching Mixtress Video. So when I told you guys that I was in intense acquisition mode a couple of videos ago, or last video, or both, I don't know. Time. What is that? These 3 decks are decks that I have acquired in the last 2 weeks. These 2 were both last week. This one I've maybe had a couple weeks at this point. I'm not sure exactly. First of all, so today we're going to do an Unfair Comparisons Tarot haul. I'm kind of not including everything because I actually have 2 other decks. Just in the interest of being thorough, let me show you guys 2 other decks that I've acquired in the last month. This one is Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. Just a quick little look at this guy. I think I might want to, even though I don't normally do like traditional reviews, I might want to do that with this one because this one is slaying me. This one is my favorite of my most recent acquisitions. It's a little strange, like as far as like interpretations of the tarot. It's like it's slightly off. It's like just enough off that you can kind of like use this deck to interpret tarot in a slightly different way, but it's not so off that you can't interpret it in the like RWS way if you want. You know, like this is obviously 7 of Wands, right? Anyway, love the art style. Oh, yeah, this is a good example of like this being 8 of Swords, which is my card of the month. And for me, that's manifesting as sort of like, I'm really trying to like get a handle on my shopping addiction. I think at this point, it's whatever that first step is, which is admitting that you have a problem. Here I am admitting I have a problem. I don't live within my means. That is actually all of 2021, as far as like my theme of the year has been about trying to figure out how to live within my means to varying levels of success. She says as she shows you a bunch of things that she's bought recently. Anyway, so, which has nothing to do really with with this particular card, but I like this 8 of Swords because it's different. Because it shows someone in a situation that's kind of harder to get out of than you normally see in an 8 of Swords. This kind of tells me, it almost, like I've never thought this before, but looking at the imagery in this card made me think, you know what? Sometimes an 8 of Swords card is kind of victim blamey. You know what I mean? Because it's like, a lot of the time you see someone in an 8 of Swords being depicted as being able to easily get out of a situation and they just choose not to. Whereas this is a situation that maybe she put herself in this situation somehow, but it's going to be difficult to get out of. And if she gets out of it, she's going to be more of a survivor than you would normally think of the 8 of Swords person as being. And I don't normally interpret the 8 of Swords in that way, but this one just kind of opened my eyes to seeing the contrast of like this versus a normal, quote unquote, normal 8 of Swords. Does that make sense? But that's just a good example in Tarot of the Sweet Twilight of like ways to see the cards differently that kind of just opens up my intuition, and I am loving this deck a lot. One of the things, there's another example, the Tower. This is a different way to see the Tower card. It's in the guidebook, it says something about these 2 figures up here being like, if you can remove yourself from the tragedy of the situation, you can see the good in it. You can see the sun. Like these people can see the sun rising in the distance because they have emotionally distanced themselves from the Tower moment. And that's something that like whenever you're in the midst of tragedy, like the only way you can deal with it sometimes is to emotionally distance yourself, right? Anyway, this is an interesting deck because it's like, it's almost like every card, the normal interpretation you can see within the card, or you can view it slightly differently. Like there's a lot of moments that like a card that would normally be thought of as good, you can see sort of the other side of it in this deck. Like even here, like Emperor, you see like toxic masculinity versus, you know, maybe non-toxic. It's the two-faced nature of what masculinity has to be in order to get ahead. You know, does that make, I don't know. This is my favorite of my most recent acquisitions, but I didn't choose to, it just would be too unfair of a comparison. Like these aren't. I can see like maybe Field and Spacious Tarot making sense next to each other. We'll see. And I edged it in teal, so I'm gonna have teal hands for the rest of this. That's okay. My other most recent acquisition, I did already do like a little baby flip through and review, and that's the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot. I'm still enjoying this one. This one was just sort of like an instant, I wouldn't say an instant favorite necessarily, but an instant, like, it was very easy to read with. I like it. It felt like an instant companion, I guess is the better way to say it. Like, I can see myself using this deck every summer. And I don't have anything else like it. I like the expressive, more crunchy art style, which I probably said in the flip through. Yeah, I like this deck. And if you're interested and you have your own and you like this color, it's just a Crayola marker that is, the color is called Seafoam Green, I think. It's definitely got seafoam in the color title. I like it. I like it. Okay, so mini review. First of all, huge thank you to Rachel, who sent me her used copy of Tarot de Saint Croix. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. And huge thank you to Julie from Peekaboo Rose channel, who sent me the Field Tarot from my Amazon wish list. Because it was one of those ones that, like, I wasn't totally sure if I was going to like it. So I put it on my wish list. And I probably never would have bought it for myself, which is why it's the perfect thing to be given to me from a wish list, you know what I mean? And, I mean, spoiler alert, I am fucking loving this deck. Which brings up a whole thing for me. This is probably going to be a babbly video too. Obviously, as I'm almost 8 minutes in and I haven't even opened these decks yet. Let's do that before I start babbling, shall we? This one is the one that I bought for myself out of these. These two are gifts, and this one I bought for myself, but I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it. So this might be a last look for me. I don't know. Anyway, all three of these decks are, you know, they just come in, I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like I don't want to do the whole traditional review thing anymore. Does that make sense? Like, I just am getting kind of fatigued by that, just personally, whenever I'm watching videos. Like, what is the box like? What is the cardstock like? Which, of course, you're going to say all that stuff, but just, like, how formulaic it feels at this point, I don't know. I might not even post this video. So let's just get really real. And if you actually happen to see this, then great. I decided to be super real with you guys. I don't know if I care anymore, is what I'm saying. And what I mean by that is I don't know if I care anymore about all of that stuff. You know, if it comes in a tuck box, fine. I don't care. If it comes in a hard box, great, wonderful. You know, the thing that annoys me the most almost is like when they come in those gigantic boxes like Wild Unknown, like the box within a box. Like, I don't mind when it's Llewellyn because it's just cards inside a box with a really nice guidebook. But when it's the box within the box, and it's like, you guys. Anyway, it's just like packaging. Like, we've become in our culture so obsessed with packaging because we've become so obsessed with shopping and acquisition and presentation in the beginning, more so than the actual item itself. Like, if something comes in a tuck box and it's not trying to be anything fancy, I have more respect for that almost, because then, you know, like, for example, with Tarot of the Sweet Twilight, this is a Lo Scarabeo deck Came in just a simple little paper tuck box, or ooh, always bump into the tripod. Came in just a simple little, you know, cardboard tuck box. And everybody complains about that. But you know what? That deck cost me $20. And part of the reason is because it didn't have to have all of this fancy, full of itself packaging. Not to say that any of this is like full of itself packaging. You know, I'm not trying to shade anybody, because people that are putting out tarot decks now, they are going to be pressured to make the presentation so fucking beautiful when it doesn't fucking matter. The thing that you are hopefully buying is the cards, right? You know, I would much rather the quality of the box be compromised if the quality of the cardstock can be better. You know what I mean? Anyway, sorry guys. Okay. So, this one's US Games. You can get it for like 20 bucks. This one is, I believe you do have to buy from her website. And then this is on Spacious Tarot, independent, you know, but it's not too expensive. Like, as far as independently published decks are, this one isn't atrocious. This one is like a book style box, and it actually has like I just complained about like, let's stop talking about the presentation, but this is an actual like double-sided ribbon. Like, this is a better quality ribbon than I've ever had in a deck. And it came with a couple of little stickers, a little hermit sticker and a little moon sticker. It's got a guidebook. It has cool little tabs for the sections, which is nice. These are the card backs. The card stock for Spacious Tarot it's that sort of swishy, it's kind of like Wild Unknown. And this is just, you know, this is just a US Games box. You guys have seen it. I do like, it took me like a couple days to even notice, and I don't know if you can even pick it up right now, but there is a US Games copyright on the backs of these cards, but it's very hard to see. So that's kind of cool that they almost disguised their own copyright. This one, cardstock, is just typical US Games. You know, it's really nice, it's thick, it's kind of matte, but not too matte. It's not too thick, although I would prefer a little bit of a thinner cardstock personally. And hey, it's got a guidebook. This is the kind of guidebook that I like these days, actually. It's simple and to the point. You got a little description, you've got some keywords, boom. I like the color. This sort of like these two colors on the inside of the box. Tarot de Saint Croix. We have also guidebook kept in the box. All three of these have that. It's a full color guidebook, kind of glossier pages. Everybody's all together numerologically, so all the threes are on one page from the minor arcana, all the fours, which is interesting because then you can like view them all at a glance, just like that. Okay, sorry guys. I feel like this is like the worst. I'm like bad-mouthing reviewing things right before I review them. Like, what? What is wrong with me? I think I've just gotten to I don't know if I've said this in a video before recently. Well, this is the backing of this, of Tarot de Saint Croix. I don't know if I've said this before. I'm going to move this back, actually, I think, because we're getting some shadow. Is this good? Is this okay? Do you want to be closer? I mean, if we're actually going to compare the imagery, we might as well get as close as possible. This is standard tarot size. Spacious Tarot is slightly, like a 1/4 of an inch shorter than a standard size. This one is also slightly, same amount really. about 1/4 of an inch shorter, and then about, I don't know what that is, slightly less than 1/4 of an inch wider. These are all like easy to shuffle decks. I would say this one's the easiest, Tarot de Saint Croix, because it's like flexible. Obviously no one's ever going to be deciding between which do I buy of these specific 3 decks, whatever. But this is just sort of, these are the decks that I've gotten most recently, so we're going to do it. We're going to compare them, even if it doesn't make any sense to do so. We're going to do it. God damn it, let's go. Okay. Okay, the thing that I started to say was that I just don't care anymore. Like, as long as I don't spend too much money on a deck, as long as it doesn't cost too much, and I can figure out how to shuffle it, and I don't just completely hate the cardstock, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of fucking box it comes in. To me, personally, it doesn't matter about the guidebook. In fact, I don't need one. I do not need a guidebook. Because I know enough about tarot at this point. Like, as far as like, if you're looking for the one deck to rule them all, and then you're going to want a guidebook. But that's just up to personal preference, right? Okay. Sorry. I'm like heated lately. And it's because I'm just at this point where I really am trying to admit to myself that I have a problem with shopping, and I need to find ways to stop being so interested in the acquisition phase. And I realized something. Thanks again to Rachel, who gave me Tarot de Saint Croix. She has been really helping me with a lot of this stuff. She's been like sending me different resources because she's one of my patrons, and like the only thing I'm talking about with my patrons right now on my weekly radio show and podcast is the fact that I'm trying to get a hold of my shopping addiction. So she's been helping me with resources, and one of the things that she encouraged me to do was to like examine my relationship to shopping as like if it was a relationship to a person, if that makes sense. And one of the things that practice of reflection has, one of the realizations that I've come to by doing that is I realized that I actually like the sort of like dopamine hit, adrenaline rush, whatever it is that I get from shopping, from buying tarot decks specifically, since that's, that's my main vice. That and perfume is my main vice. Or really anything, honestly. I buy all kinds of things on the internet. It's internet shopping in general is my vice. And I realized the moment of dopamine hit and excitement and adrenaline or whatever it is, that excitement that you get from ordering something, I get it at the moment of purchase. I get it when there's like a calm after I buy something, because I'm just like so nervous that I'm not going to be able to get a hold of it, that like I'm going to miss my chance, and even if I don't know if it's going to be a tarot deck that works for me, like I've got to do it now or else it might never be available again, and blah 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 blah. I get that sort of rush as I purchase it. And because I'm ordering things on the internet, it could take weeks or months. I've been waiting for Serpent Fire Tarot. I ordered back in April. And it has been marked as shipped for like a week and a half now, but it's in pre-shipment. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I have to wait months or even years in the case of like a Kickstarter or something before I actually receive a deck into my hands. The moment of excitement and adrenaline isn't really like, yeah, I'm excited when I receive the deck, but not as excited as I was when I hit purchase. So that's a realization that's coming to me that like, okay, so there's something about, there's a disconnect. I am more excited in the process of acquisition and the daydreaming phase before, of like imagining myself with a certain tarot deck or whatever it is. That is more of a thing for me than the actual acquisition. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm making little realizations. I'm trying to wrap my head around my problem, and I'm trying to create rules for myself within that. I'm going to try not to buy any tarot decks for at least a few months. I was doing really great in the beginning of the year. I only had acquired like 4 decks by like June for the whole year, and since then I've bought like 8. So anyway, let's start flipping. 20 minutes in. Interesting that like I thought that these would all be like terrible decks to compare against each other, but all of these show like a point of view path. Like we do see a figure in these two, but all 3 of these Fool cards, you get to see the possibility ahead of you. You can be the one that's on the path. One just like gripe about this deck in general is like there's a lot of thigh gap happening, like all the way up into the butt crack. It's in several of these cards. One of them, I'll show you, I altered it. I might actually do that with this one too. Like I have no problem with nudity, I have no problem with butts, but this butt does not look, the gap is just distracting to me. It doesn't look realistic. I don't know. And that's also kind of a personal preference. I'd just rather see thicker thighs because I have very thick thighs, so I'd like to see it. This is interesting though. I like the path, the sort of like jester situation. There's a boat. So you could choose to walk that path and get on that boat and go towards the moon. So I like how all of these sort of like put you in. This one is like one of the reasons why I bought Spacious Tarot. I kept thinking about this Fool card. I love it. All right, first card flip, 22 minutes in. I'm going to try not to just be like, I don't like this card. I don't like this card. Like, I am surprised by how much I like field tarot, because it's a very interesting art style. There's really no line work in this deck. It's all just cutouts of textures. And it's very subtle, very pastel, not normally my color scheme in general, but there's a simplicity to it that I'm really attracted to. Simplicity right now, which is the whole reason why I bought Spacious Tarot. That sort of idea of being able to put yourself in the image and feeling the space around you and having limited amount of symbolism to draw from makes it easier to, it's as a person that's frequently overstimulated by life, because I'm autistic, so that's just kind of our thing. It's really refreshing to have. I don't think I really have any tarot decks in my collection besides these 2 now that are just very simple. I mean, to a certain extent, Wild Unknown is simple, but there's a lot of anxiety that sort of comes through in the line work of Kim Kranz's work that, to me, like, I don't have a problem with it. I like that deck, but it doesn't read as simple, even though it is simple. To me, it doesn't read as simple because of the anxiety in the line work. Does that make sense? I feel like I say that constantly. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I don't know. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense, which is why I have this tattoo. Stop making sense. Because whenever I think I should be making sense, I have to remind myself I never will, and that's fine. I like all 3 of these, but particularly this one. It's just interesting because it almost looks like, in the viewfinder anyway, I don't know if it's going to look like this to you in the final video, but it almost looks like her throne is glowing, like it's red, like it's metallic. Red, like it's gold and metallic, but it really is just like a a pattern with like a very, very pale yellow kind of cream background. But it kind of just, because of the contrast between her hair and skin, it looks like it's just shimmery gold, right? Love the simplicity, but I do kind of like, just personally, I kind of would have liked to see 2 pillars in this card. But the thing with the Field Tarot is because of all because of the way that the artwork is, I've several times I've thought, you know what, I could just get out a metallic marker or something and I could add whatever it is. Like, I feel like I could easily add some pillars to this image to make it more of what I want to see in the High Priestess. And it wouldn't necessarily look bad if I did it. So I might even do that. There's enough space in the artwork, and the style of the artwork is such that I feel like me adding something to it wouldn't necessarily look super obvious. I mean, it would be kind of obvious, but it wouldn't be too bad. All of these are kind of different interpretations of an Empress card. Like, this one's only, like, I've seen a lot of pregnant Empresses, but I don't think I've ever seen an actual, like, established mother. You know, she has, like, this child is probably, I don't know, I'm not good with ages in general, and especially kid ages, but this kid looks like she's at least 7 or 8 to me. And I kind of like that we're seeing, like, a mother that has, you know, an Empress that's pregnant is just, you know, an aspiration of motherhood, right? Like, she's not actually a mother yet. But in this case, she's been one for a while. And that's not to, like, I'm not trying to, like, delegitimize or invalidate pregnant women as not being mothers. Like, if you identify as a mother already, like, psychologically, you really need to at that point, you know, if you're heavily pregnant, like, start thinking of yourself as a mother, right? But, like, the trials and tribulations of actually raising a child have not happened yet if you're a first-time pregnant mother, you know? I'm not really loving this. Here's the thing. Okay, I don't want to be an enabler, and I don't want to, like, dissuade people from buying indie tarot decks, but the thing that's been disappointing me about Spacious Tarot, the reason why it might not be for me, is on camera, it looks amazing. But in person, it's not like it doesn't look good. It's well done art. But to me, it's much more obvious in person that this, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think it was created on a computer. And not to say that there's anything wrong with creating tarot decks like computer-generated art. I don't want to say anything against that. But for me personally, with the Spacious Tarot, I wanted something hand-drawn. I wanted something a little bit sloppier, a little bit more expressive looking. And to me personally, I really get that from, like, more traditional, old-school art styles of, like, pen and ink, paint, that kind of thing. And I don't have a problem with computer-generated art, except that this particular tarot deck, being that it's all nature, there's no people, I just personally, what I wanted from that was traditional style of artwork. And because I'm not getting that for me personally, there's a disconnect. I'm not really, because what I wanted specifically from this deck is not there. So, and I have discovered that because I am a person of limited means, whenever I spend a lot of money on a tarot deck, that's when I'm more likely to judge it more harshly. So that's why that's one of the reasons why I think this deck is probably not for me. Okay, Emperor. We're 30 minutes in and we're only to the Emperor. On my viewfinder, the colors from the Field Tarot are like, just so you know, I do have a filter on my camera, so like everything's a little bit more saturated than it really is in real life. But this Emperor looks especially great with the pop in colors. I really do like seeing a wolf as an Emperor. That's different. I don't have any decks that have that energy. I'm not sure what the choice for... I mean, this is a poppy, right? Like, why are we looking at a poppy as the Emperor? Because patriarchy / opioid epidemic, maybe? I don't know. This is like probably my least favorite card in the Field Tarot. And I was just thinking, like, as I was drifting off to sleep last night, for some reason I thought about this card. And I was like, okay, I wonder if I can fix it. Because I think I possibly could fix it. If I could cover up his face and maybe cover up the gold, for me personally, and maybe change his staff to look more like a Hierophant staff. You know, with the extra, like, thing on the bottom. You know what I'm talking about. So I think I might alter this card, actually. I'm not sure how I feel about the Dalai Lama being in a Hierophant card. There are some things, I mean, I'm not necessarily like cancel the Dalai Lama or anything, but there are some things about the Dalai Lama. He definitely has some backward thinking about women. He doesn't think that a woman could be the next Dalai Lama. Essentially. Or maybe that's an old thing. Maybe that was something he said a really long time ago and he feels differently now. But just for me personally, when I see the Dalai Lama, I'm like, I don't know about you. I don't know about you. Of course, I feel that way about the Buddha too. Because my whole thing with the Buddha is he left his fucking family. He left his newborn baby and his person he left to go pursue, like, sitting in the woods. And he was a rich dude that decided to... don't get me started on Buddha, okay? Don't get me started on Buddha. I don't know if I like him. Just the concept of Buddha in general, love. But Siddhartha Gautama, don't love. That's all I'm saying. Controversial topics here on Mixtress Video today. Controversial opinions. Love this Hierophant card, though. Just the idea of... and on camera, it looks so fucking gorgeous, but in person, there's a disconnect for me. In person, I'm looking at this card, and I can just see that it was created on a computer, and for some reason, that bugs me. With this deck. It doesn't bug me with... I mean, I don't like this card, but it doesn't bug me with Field Tarot, but it does bug me with Spacious Tarot. And that's just, like, again, that's another autism thing, I think. With me personally, I get hung up on a tiny detail of something, and it makes something work or not work for me, and I accept that for myself, but, like, whenever I'm doing these kinds of things, I don't like that what I'm putting out there is, this one was created with computer, therefore I don't like it. Like, I don't want that to be the takeaway. It's just for me personally what I wanted from this deck. It doesn't work for me. So I like the concept of DNA being lovers, because I personally think of lovers as more of the concept of the Buddha, of like everything, us all being made of star stuff. We are all the same. We are all just variations of the same. On camera, again, the color saturation that's coming through on camera with the Field Tarot is making it so beautiful. So just so you know, if you're thinking about Field Tarot, it's not this saturated. I do like my filter, though, that I have on this camcorder. So just don't view this video as as an actual representation of any of these decks. If this is for some reason the first time you're seeing one of these decks, make sure you watch some other walkthrough, not just mine. Because this one's already very saturated in person, and on camera it's just looking like holy orange Batman. You know what I'm saying? I really like, some people don't get this Chariot card, but I really like the concept of it. because it's a Cancer card. It's a water card. Like, it used to confuse me, like, why is Chariot Cancer? Because that's a water card. Like, in general, the Chariot card in, like, the RWS is not, even though it's, like, you know, I accept it because it's, you know, it's from the RWS. Like, all of those images are just, like, embedded in my brain forever. But in general, like, if I were creating my own tarot deck, I would definitely add a water element into the card. And I think you can see that here. Like, even though there's not literal water, you see a moon, which I think the moon is the planet that rules Cancer. I might be wrong. I'm not great with astrology. So don't really like this one. Love this one, because you still get the black and white horse. And I really like this one too, because it puts you in the Chariot again, just like the Fool card. It's almost like if, I don't know, like if these were just sort of like computer representations of the art that was going to be created later. Like, the composition of almost all the images in Spacious Tarot, particularly the major arcana. We'll get to it, but I'm not super into the minor arcana in this deck. The composition of the images, the concept of the images is just amazing to me. Like, I love this, the idea of cactus being strength. But again, I look through it in the viewfinder, I'm like, that card is fucking gorgeous. Why am I thinking about getting rid of this deck? And then I look at it in person and I'm like, because the line work just looks so obviously computer. And it's not working for me. Anyway, I like these other two strength cards a lot. This one is probably one of the best cards in this deck, to be honest. Love it. And this is my favorite card in this deck. Again, on the camera, this is way more orange than it is in person. In fact, this deck is really not looking great in the camera, but that's a slight misrepresentation. Okay, I don't need to bring it up every 2 seconds. You guys know. This is oversaturated. Look at a real walkthrough. I really like this Hermit card. Again, through the viewfinder. Through the viewfinder, it looks fucking gorgeous. And in person, I'm like, not really doing it for me. So I think I just need to accept that I will fully 100% appreciate the Spacious Tarot when other people have it on their videos, in their Instagram. And I will just have to remind myself that it didn't work for me in person. And that happens sometimes. Okay, I want to focus more on just like the symbolism in the cards and less on like the stupid crap that I'm focusing on, that my autistic brain is focusing in on, that I keep saying over and over. Because you guys aren't here for that. 38 minutes. Oh my god, I can't. I just need to I wonder if there's a way to turn the timer off on my video so I can't see how long it is. Maybe we'll just go through the major arcana. I don't know. Of these three, like if I'm pitting them up against each other, I like this Wheel of Fortune the most. Because I really like, oh, there's also a horizon here, kind of with the water. One of the things that was in like the guidebook for Field Tarot was they were talking about like the horizon is in most of the cards, just built in. And that's part of the art. The point of the art was to have the horizon in each card. And I love it. There's several cards in the deck that have this sort of like what to me looks like a built-in reversal in the card, where you just have the dichotomy of like the dark half and the light half. And I just really like when they do that in this deck. Kind of a boring Justice card, I think, for Field Tarot here. I do like the little, like, you know, half moon situation in the drop, in the pool, in the rippling pool. One of the best cards in this deck. When Field Tarot really leans into sort of the more abstract landscape imagery, it always works for me. Like, whenever there's human figures, like lately I've just been drawn to decks that don't have human figures in them or humanoid figures in them. I love this idea of like you're looking at the earth from far away. Like, what better perspective could you possibly get? All great death cards. I mean, for me, just showing a skeleton is enough. And that's what all three of these decks have chosen to do for the death card. And this one has the gorgeous flower that's on the flag in the RWS deck. And this one's dancing. Dancing in like this is a sciencey thing, like a DNA type thing. I don't know what this is, but like, you know, it makes me think of like neural pathways and connections and cell structures, and like this guy's dancing and he's holding a key too. He or she, I don't know why I'm saying he. This skeleton identifies as he. I'm kind of picky about temperance. I want my temperance card to be just like very much goddess figure sort of shit happening. I think you could make an argument this is kind of a goddess figure. However, one thing that's just kind of a deterrent for me with Tarot de Saint Croix, I haven't even really used it much yet. It feels more like a possibly super late summer vibe. Like, I feel like I could see myself wanting to use it, like, you know, end of August, somewhere around there. But anyway, one of the things that's bugging me in this deck is because I know what Lisa de Saint Croix looks like, I feel like she has put herself into several of the images in this deck, and I feel like this is one of them. And that's distracting for me personally. Again, if you're doing the art in a deck and you're making your own tarot deck, you can put yourself in every single fucking card. I mean, the chick that made Moon Void Tarot did that. And it wouldn't bother me if I had Moon Void Tarot. It's way too goddamn expensive, so I'm never going to get it unless someone buys it for me. But it wouldn't bother me with Moon Void simply because I actually kind of look like that chick. I mean, I have long dark hair and glasses. So, and my name's Stephanie. Yeah, anyway, I just can't with whenever I see someone depicting themselves in a tarot deck, and that's something that, like, with time using this deck and connecting to this deck, I might be able to overlook that, but just as a first impression, it's bothering me right now. Anyway, so like I said, I'm picky about temperance cards. I don't really like any of these. Although now that I'm looking at this, like if she had sort of like a rainbow going from each of those cups, so maybe I'll actually, wouldn't that be funny if like the deck that Julie gave me from Peekaboo Rose channel is the one that I heavily alter, like as far as the artwork, because I know she did that with Moon Void Tarot. Yeah, because I'm thinking about that now that I'm looking at it, because there's definitely the space. I could add my own little like rainbow in between the cups, and then I would like the card more. This one, I mean, I get it, like fire melts ice that drops onto the fire and puts it out. Like, the concept is gorgeous here. Okay, just full disclosure. This devil card, if you look at a real flip through of this tarot deck, this is not a real flip through. You're going to see a giant erect penis on this devil, but I chose to cover it. It doesn't look that great on camera, but in person it looks a little bit better. I tried to like mimic this sort of blobby black shape down here up at the top of his pillar so that I could cover his penis, because I understand the artistic choice to put an erect penis in a devil card, but I personally could not handle it. So that was like my first order of business. I haven't even really used the deck yet, but I've already covered up that penis. I like this one though, just very simple. I like this one too, just conceptually, again, because it's, if you're alone in a forest and you got nothing but yourself, you're going to be confronting all of your own demons. So this totally makes sense to me conceptually. I like the idea. This is supposed to be Shiva, but to me this is Kali. And Kali is the Tower card. If I were making my own deck, it would probably be in representation of Kali somehow. So I really like this one. This one is great too. Just like that sort of like meticulously built cairn. Cairn. That's what like a stack of rocks like this is called, a cairn. Like that sort of meticulously built. Usually for a spiritual purpose, those are built and it's being destroyed. Like, I like the symbolism of that. This one's just boring to me. I don't know. I'm kind of sick of seeing the tower as, literal tower. Love this. This is Goddess Newt. She's like made of stars. Love that she's like watering the land. So this is kind of like a reprieve from drought, which makes sense as a star moment. This one, it's just literally like you're looking up at the stars. This was the card so far, the only card that I've altered in this deck. I added her little metallic skirt situation because the original image, there was like, you could see through her ass because there was a triangle cut out. So there was like a triangle of air that you could see through her ass and vagina right above the waterline. And it just looks so not realistic, number one. And number two, that meant that she's totally bald. And number three, it meant that like I couldn't deal, so I covered it. I couldn't deal. All of this, like, you're diving to the depths of your soul to claim what's underneath. These are all good. These are all good. Again, like, my eye is so drawn to these spacious tarot cards through the viewfinder. But in person, I'm like, meh. That's just my personal opinion. These are all good. All good. All good. I don't really get having a swan as the judgment card. I don't really get it. But again, I've had this deck less than a week, so maybe eventually I'll get it. There's a lot going on here. I don't even really know. Let's read the description for this, because why not make this video even longer, right? This is a hangout. This is like truth and story levels of talking about some decks. Judgment is really a card about awakening to the truth. What we believe is what we receive. Ooh, I like that. Here you witness several scenes taking place in the cathedral in Siena, Italy. The man in the background kneels praying to the archangels. Is that this guy? Does he fear them, or is he bowing to their beauty and grace? To the innocent child twirling in a beam of sunlight, there is no elaborate morality, just the purity of the moment connected to all that is. Under the child's feet spins the wheel of fortune. Oh, okay. Standing above a mosaic, Sybil, my friend and mentor Carrie Paris, experiences one of her teachings, the sacred gaze. Okay, so, again, I'm sure that this helps other people connect to decks a lot whenever, like, there are people that the tarot deck creator puts, that knows in her real life, that puts in the deck. And no shade to Lisa de St. Croix. I didn't fucking create an amazing tarot deck that a lot of people love. But reading that kind of thing automatically distances me personally from a card. Like, I don't need to know that this is like a real person in your real life. And of course, if you're doing that, if you're putting a real person in your real life in your tarot deck, it makes it more meaningful to you. And it makes it meaningful to that person. But if I were going to do that, I would let that person know, hey, I put you in this judgment card, isn't that cool? But I wouldn't let the world know. But I also know that a lot of people are going to disagree with that. They're going to be like, no, I love that. I love that she did that. I love that we know that that's her friend or whatever. And I know she did that with a lot of cards in this deck. I haven't read much of the guidebook yet, but I have encountered that several times in the guidebook already. Holy shit. I love this so much. Just the juxtaposition of the light and dark, the like idea of numerologically it kind of fucks with my brain because these are the chakras, right? But which is great. I totally get having the chakras in the world card. But just the fact that there are 7 chakras, but the world card is 21. That does not add up to 7. Not at all. That kind of fucks with me, but I don't care because this image is gorgeous. Gorgeous. This is fine. This is fine. Like, it's good. It's just weird how much I'm liking this field tarot. It's so, like, I don't have anything else like it. Okay, now I'm gonna really try to go a little bit faster now. These are all kind of similar, aren't they? I think this one's my favorite, though. Something about the shape of some of the wands that are in the field tarot just looks too specific, something about it looks religious and royal to me, and those are things that I'm not really into, just in general. I love a 2 of wands that's just, this. Just 2 wands facing each other. This one's good, though. And I love a 3 of wands that's a triangle. But this one's great as well. This one, looks great on camera, but in person, I'm like, meh. Again, I should just stop saying that out loud because I'm just thinking that about almost every card. So yeah, I think it's pretty much cemented now that I'm gonna let go of Spacious Tarot. So hey, if you're one of my patrons, stay tuned. I'm sure I will be offering it to you guys in the next week or 2. I might sit with it a little bit longer. I like to keep something in my purgatory drawer for a little while before I totally let it go. And if you are interested in possibly paying only shipping for Spacious Tarot, become a patron. Info below. I also now have set up, I have a link to my Amazon wishlist, and I have just set up a coffee account. So if you want to just say, hey, I like your videos, you can send me $3 via the coffee account just to theoretically buy me a coffee. So I have all that shit set up now. Also, I have merch. So there's a link to merch. There will be more design options soon, but right now there's just one design option that comes in several different things. You can get a sweatshirt or a fanny pack or a sticker or a mug or all of the above. And there's also a t-shirt, just a regular t-shirt. And soon, I've just ordered some samples because I had to wait until I got paid before I could order them. But I've just ordered some samples, so soon I will be able to show you guys what the merch actually looks like in person. So I couldn't order an example of everything because it would have been too expensive, but I ordered a mug, a fanny pack, and a sticker. So I'll be able to show you those 3 items pretty soon, and I'll put a video up about it whenever I get to that point. Don't really like this one. I don't know, it's just too obvious to me. I do really like this one though. It's one of the few, I guess that's not true. There's a lot of human figures in this deck that I do like. I like this one too. Because to me, 7 of Wands is Slayer energy. And that definitely gives me Slayer energy. I think the wands are possibly my least favorite in Spacious Tarot. Like, I just don't really like many of them at all. Like, the idea and the concept of them is great, but yeah. This is like my second favorite card in this deck. I just love the colors in this card, the like teals and oranges, and the idea of like the Nine of Wands being like you've been on a long path. You've made it through a lot. I like that concept. Both of these are just very Marseille style. I don't really like either of those. Oops. That it matters, but I put those stacks in the wrong place. I really like this one. Again, it's just like the simplicity. I'm just really drawn to simplicity in tarot decks lately. And I love all the court cards in Spacious Tarot. I think like one of the things that I was hyper focused on before I bought it was how much I love the court cards, particularly the Swords court cards. Okay, trying to go faster. This is going to be like a 2-hour video. No black cats in any of these. Like, for some reason lately I keep ending up with decks that don't have black cats and the Queen of Wands. Of course, this is a cat, so, and she's a cat, so this one's probably my favorite, but I do really like this one too. It's just like, why can't there be? I could do it! Oh my god, you guys. I could add a little black cat right there. It would be so easy. The only thing would be, like, I might fuck it up. So I need to make sure, because I'd probably just use like a black Sharpie, but I just need to make sure that I practice a black cat silhouette a few times before I do it. He sort of bugs me just because he looks like a young elfin king, which, yeah, like I've got no problem with that, except, I don't know. I see this more like a page energy, I guess. Love the cups in Spacious Tarot. Just like that sort of like mountain gorgeousness and the simplicity in the cards. Actually, all of these are pretty great. The only problem with this one, because of the reflection, like at first glance, I think that this is the Two of Cups, and I just haven't had this deck long enough to like retrain my brain. Like that's the ace. That's the ace. Don't love the, I mean, I don't know. I've said this many times before, but if you're going to have heteronormativity in, like, I can accept heteronormativity in either the Lovers or the Two of Cups, but not both. And both of these, well, let's see. What is the Lovers in this one? Yeah, both of these decks, you've got heteronormativity in both of those cards. That bugs me. I love this. Like, this is totally a Three of Cups for me. Hanging out with friends and board games. Although we'd be drinking booze and not tea. I guess I can just pretend there's bourbon in those teacups. But yeah, this totally reminds me of hanging out with my girlfriends. And this is kind of like a tarot-based game. There's actually this game. It's called Mystical Circle. That basically the whole point of the game, like there's no winning or losing. It's just at the end of the game, everybody has a 10-card Celtic Cross spread. Like there's a little spread cards that each person has, and throughout the course of the game you gather your cards for your own 10-card spread. It's totally cheesy. It's from the 90s, maybe the 80s. I had it growing up and we lost it in the tornado, and I just recently, a few years ago, found it on eBay to buy for my mom, so we just kind of share it within the family. But it's so fun. It's ridiculous, and I had to change a lot of the rules just to make it slightly less boring. Because sometimes it can be forever before you get your next card. But, yeah, this reminds me of Mystical Circle. I love this. Why do I love this so much? Just the simplicity of it. Oh, and I didn't even mention, like, obviously you probably noticed that there are keywords in Field Tarot. I don't know how I'm ultimately going to feel about it, because every time I get a deck that has keywords in it, I always say the same thing, which is usually I don't like keywords, but I'm not minding it with this one. But then, like, a few months later, I'll be like, nope, hate the keywords. But I'm having that same thought with this one. Like, meditation totally makes sense as a keyword for Four of Cups. I'm totally fine with that. I really like this one. This one's fine, except she's facing away from all of the cups. Which I guess, you know, that could be a part of grief too. You're not looking at the good, you're not looking at the bad, you just hate everything. So, I just talked myself out of disliking that, actually. And I kind of like that it says disappointment, because that's not quite as extreme as you normally see the Five of Cups. Like, normally you'd see, like, grief. Oh, one of my favorite cards in this deck. I love a deer. I love a deer! And I totally see that as a Six of Cups moment. Totally, totally. I love that we've got all the cheesy childhood tea party moments here. The only thing is, I do not abide a monkey. And there's a monkey. I don't know why. I don't know who hurt me, but I hate monkeys. Another one of those, like I said, anytime you see, like, to me, this is a built-in reversal. I don't use reversals, but for some reason it always excites me when I see that. When I see that, like, if I were to use, maybe I would use reversals if there was what I interpreted as a built-in visual reversal in a card. Maybe I would use it in that case. Most of the reason why I don't use reversals is simply because, one, it makes things more complicated, and two, because I don't want to look at an image upside down. But with this card, you wouldn't be looking at an image upside down. At all. It looks like the exact same image, only the dark is on the top now. I love it. I just love it. And I get, like, the whole idea of tasseography being, which is reading of tea leaves. I think I might be saying it wrong. I think that's the right word, though. As being a Seven of Cups. I do not like this one, because this just puts a bad spin on the Seven of Cups. I don't see the Seven of Cups like this. The Seven of Cups is possibilities. It's not, you know, this to me is just like, I'm waiting for the moment when they all drop and there's glass everywhere and I have to clean it up. Like, this just gives me bad feels. I like all of these. I like that you're not necessarily, you're eventually going to leave the cups behind, but right now you're walking the path with them. That's an interesting interpretation. I don't totally get this. Let's consult the guidebook again. At least this time it's not going to describe a person. That's going to make me go, ugh, I'm disconnected. A waterfall in Havasupai in the Grand Canyon flows into a series of 8 pools. Emotional strength is not about overcoming our feelings, but instead immersing ourselves in them until we can release them. Ooh, I like that. I feel like this Tarot de Saint Croix is definitely a deck that I'm going to have to sit with. Whereas I can very easily wrap my head around these two decks because of their simplicity. These, it seems like every time I consult the guidebook, she is depicting a specific place and specific people. So that's something I'm just going to have to get used to and embrace. So this could be like a slow grow kind of deck for me. It could end up that way. Oh, I thought it said regret. I was like, I don't like regret. Okay, but retreat I'll give you for the keyword here. Again, anytime there's, I just love this symmetry and the pyramids and the little planet in the background that looks like Venus or something. Yes, mama. Nine of Cups. Again, I feel like I'm seeing the creator of the deck in the card, and it bugs me. I can't get past it right now. Maybe eventually I'll learn to get past it. If I don't, I'll have to pass this deck on too. But this is one I'm going to definitely sit with for a while. Love this one. Again, I don't know why. It's so simple. Why do I love it so much? But I do. This one's fine. This is one of the only, like, as far as just the imagery in general, I don't like this one. I know a lot of people do. And I like the concept of it being that, like, all these different people have something to bring to the table, but just the actual, like, composition, or the concept of the image I'm happy with. The execution and the composition of the image bothers me for some reason. I don't know. I love this. Ten of Cups being, like, hanging out with, I mean, to me, this is a chosen family moment, but it could be your literal family. But I can't drink with my literal family. But I have before, but that's been very strange. My grandma's first glass of champagne ever in her life, as she told to me in the moment, was at my wedding reception. 2010. I love this, though. Just like the sort of, like, from afar, you can kind of see this as a psychic eye, you know? I like that. There's a harmoniousness. Oh, I didn't even, like, probably subliminally, I saw that it said harmony, but there is a harmoniousness to this card that I really like. So I love these two. I like the concept of this, but just, as far as just, like, it just looks out of place in the rest of this deck, because you're not seeing, this is not like a nature image, whereas the other ones are. Like, this one's just cups floating in space. It's just, the tone of the Spacious Tarot is not this card. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? This one kind of makes me a little uncomfortable just because this does look like a much younger woman, and it looks almost, I mean, it's probably not supposed to look like a sexualized image, but it kind of does. To me, this sort of looks like a younger person discovering her sexuality, which I should be comfortable with, but because of my own trauma and the fact that I am gray sexual, this makes me uncomfortable. So, like, I think there's an obvious, like, by the portrayal of the cards in Lisa de St. Croix's deck, I think it's obvious that she is proud of her sexuality, and she has sexuality. But me personally, I don't have a lot of that, and so sometimes depictions of sexuality can make me really uncomfortable. So there you go. That's just my own personal problems showing their faces there. Okay, Knight of Cups. That one's important to me because my Michael is Knight of Cups. I don't love any of these, really. I mean, I'm fine with the idea of, like, koi fish being the court cards in Spacious Tarot. And he's okay. I don't know. He needs more hair. Ooh, I could add it. I could just give him some nice curly waves coming down. Yeah. Looks like I'm going to be doing some alterations to Field Tarot. Let me know if you guys are interested in seeing the final product once I actually do that. This one is just like, again, with my personal discomfort with sexuality. To me, I feel like I'm looking at an ejaculation with this card, and it's bothering me. That's my own problems. Ignore at will. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about these. I don't really like them very much. I like the keyword of intuition being associated with Queen of Cups. But I think of someone much more voluptuous as a Queen of Cups. But again, that's just a personal preference, not really a critique. Yeah. These are all kind of similar. I really like this one, just sort of the geometric shapes. This one has that same vibe. And I like this sort of like the attachment to the air and the moon and the sky. I paused for a second so I can go get more coffee. Okay, I'm back. I feel so like I'm sweating, you guys, and it's not even really that hot in this room. I think I'm sweating because I'm nervous about like the fact that I'm trying to put out such a fucking long video, and I'm just telling you guys, see, this is what happens for YouTubers. Like, I don't even have that many people that watch my videos, but I still get so nervous about, like, what people are gonna say, how they're gonna react to what I'm saying, how people might interpret what I'm saying. Am I an asshole? Like, I don't know, but at the same time, I just want to be real with you guys. I want to grow. I want to get better. I want to, display my truth. I want to be heard. I don't know. How are you guys? Fucking shit. Okay. So, as you guys may know, if you've been around on my channel, you know that I take the Two of Swords very seriously. How do I feel about these? This one, I can say right now, I need to add a moon to it. If this one had a moon in it, I would be very happy with it. So that's the alteration I'm probably going to do to that card. And then I'd really like it. I like that she's sort of, instead of facing us, she's facing away. I don't know if I have any other Two of Swords where there's a figure facing away in the Two of Swords. I like this one. Although sort of the interpretation of it I don't love. Like, imagery-wise, composition-wise, that's beautiful. But the idea that, like, the crossed swords are covering the sun kind of makes me think... I mean, I guess that's sort of like blindfold. But it makes me think that your inability to make a decision is covering the sun. And I know a lot of people do see the Two of Swords that way, but I don't see the Two of Swords as being the inability to make a decision. I don't see it as a hard decision necessarily. It's just a decision. You're weighing pros and cons. You're trusting your own intuition. That's why you're blindfolded. So I'm good with this one. I'm good with this one. Again, Spacious Tarot is just, it's not going to be for me. It's just not. And I'm sad to say that. This one I love because, like, whenever I got my tattoo, very recently, I wanted the swords to kind of look like ankhs. And I didn't even know, I mean, I'd seen flip-throughs of this deck, so maybe I was thinking of it subconsciously without realizing it, but, like, the fact that this one's kind of like a little knitting needle situation, there's even, like, a little bit of thread coming out of it, and it kind of looks ankhy. And this one kind of has like a science-y moment happening there. You know what I'm saying? I like that the three swords are different. I like that there's, I don't know if you can tell, you probably can, I just can't tell in the viewfinder. There are stitches in this heart. So it's like, you've been through some shit and you've been able to repair it in the past. Plus the flames coming out, again, that's something that I chose to... It's not like this is the only deck that has flames coming out of the heart. I mean, it's like the sacred heart thing. I like that this heart, like the texture in this heart, if you can't tell, is like a rose pattern. And this one, yeah, fine. Okay, so the only problem with, I mean, I guess maybe not the only problem for me, but Spacious Tarot, their depiction of the swords is very winter. I don't see the swords as being winter, I see the swords as being fall. Which, again, doesn't matter. Like, interpret it however you fucking want. I mean, there's different tarot decks because different people see it in different ways. Like, I like this imagery, but the fact that the swords are in the middle of winter, that's not how I see it anyway. Although this could be like in a colder climate, this could be fall in a colder climate, so if I were going to keep this deck, that's just the headcanon that I would tell myself. I like both of these other Four of Swords, though. This one confuses me. Like, I love to see a bird in any Five of Swords. I love to see a bird in any card ever. Like, let's be real. This one, it's too thothy to me. And this one is triggering. You know, you're getting a guy pointing and yelling. This is obviously a domestic dispute happening. This one's very triggering to me, and like I can actually feel like my breath gets shallow just looking at this image. So this one's going to be a hard one for me, like, to deal with, because yeah. I was in like a seminar once at work, and it was like, it was a color code thing. And they were, like, it was a married couple that was putting on this presentation for the day. And they had a fight. And it wasn't like a real fight. It was them acting. But they were they were pretty good at acting, because for a while, some of us, especially those of us that are more literal minded, maybe neurodivergent, didn't understand that it was a joke for a while, didn't understand that they were acting, and I was extremely triggered by it and very upset because I thought I was watching a domestic dispute. I thought I was trapped in a room with all of my coworkers watching two people we didn't know have a fucking fight, and he was being super like sexist and awful and just patriarchal bullshit, and apparently was based on real fights that they used to have before they understood each other better through the lens of the color code and blah, blah, blah. But it was extremely upsetting. And our, like, director, our library director, because I work at a public library, at the time, had no concept of how this would be upsetting to people. And there were several people, I wasn't the only one, that was, like, upset. Like, I had to leave the room and like go cry somewhere. Like, it was bad. And then she invited them back a few years later. Like, we were going to have the same exact people do the same exact presentation several years later, because we had had a bunch of new people, so they needed to see the color code too, right? Anyway, and I sent an email to the director, and I was like, please ask the presenters to not do that fight thing. Because if they do that again, I guarantee you several of us are going to walk out. I don't think I actually said that part, but I was just like, please ask them not to do that. It's really upsetting for people that have actually witnessed their parents fucking yell at each other. People that have actually been at that director, we don't have that director anymore, but she was very tone deaf to a lot of different things, and that's just one of the examples. Anyway, that Five of Swords reminds me of that moment. Okay, let's move on. Six of Swords. Like, theoretically, yes, but these light beams in the background, I know you can't tell on the video, they look great. They just look so computer to me. I just can't take it. I love this, actually. I really love this. And I'm totally good with transition being the key word. I think If a keyword is right, I can deal with it. This one I don't like because this reminds me of a Seven of Wands. Like, I don't see the Seven of Swords as being like one person. I guess this person has a jaggedy crack and these have straight cracks. Maybe that's something that it's just not immediately apparent, like what the symbolism I'm supposed to get from this card is. I wonder if it says in the guidebook. I guess I haven't really like looked at the Spacious Tarot guidebook that much. So let's do it, shall we? We're all here for however fucking long this goddamn video is. You guys knew it before I did. Okay, let's see. Seven of Swords. Sneakiness and aloofness are the key words. The Seven of Swords urges you to confront what you are hiding and why you are hiding it. Sometimes it is wise to go your own way or separate from the pack. Is this coming from a place of integrity or is it coming from a place of dishonor? Have you slipped into any dubious mental tendencies such as procrastination or betrayal? It is important to be honest with yourself, as this card sometimes appears when you are trying to justify doing something you know is sketchy. Question the ethics you are leaning into. A little sneakiness isn't always a bad thing, but it's a fine line to skate. Okay, well, with that interpretation, I understand the symbolism better. Like, that's a case where, like, yeah, my tendency to, like, not really look at guidebooks anymore, that's a good reminder that maybe I should really spend more time with a guidebook when I first get a deck. I should actually sit down. I hardly ever do this, but I always think to myself, I need to do this. I hardly ever just sit down with a deck in order and then read the interpretations of the guidebook. Like, I almost would let me know if you guys would be interested in doing that. Like, that would make for an extremely long video, but maybe if I'm going to start, I'm trying to, like, not buy as many tarot decks. This would be a way to study a deck more. Maybe I could do it like, today we're going to go through Tarot de St. Croix, the major arcana with the guidebook. Like, let me know if you'd be interested in that kind of thing. So you could do, I kind of wish tarot YouTubers would do that more often, like more of a deep dive into a particular deck. So maybe I could start making like series to go through a particular deck's symbolism like that, wherein, yeah, and I would feel less nervous if I did it as a series. You know, that way I'm not trying to do the entire deck all at once. Yeah, maybe that would be a good idea. Again, one sword being... This, to me, looks like this person is holding this... You know, obviously they're swords, but this black sword over here, oh God, is imprisoning this white sword over here. I don't like it. I don't like it. Because that's not how I see the Eight of Swords. This one's fine. This one's fine. The sort of like very regimented grid of swords. Isolation. Yeah, I can work with that. Lately I've been really craving some other interpretation of the Nine of Swords, other than just like scared in bed, you know? That said, because that's what you normally see, I can definitely work with it. I really like this one though, because this one, like, yeah, she's scared, she's focusing on these swords here, but then you look and you see that the swords are actually just a reflection of the light coming in through the blinds. I like that a lot. This is actually like, I feel like from now on, even if I don't ultimately keep this deck, I'm always going to think about this particular depiction of the Nine of Swords, no matter what deck I'm currently using. I'm always going to think about this card. So, that's a good one. This one's fine. This one really bothers me. Like, this one just feels much more aggressive. Like, I mean, I get putting a rabbit in the Nine of Swords if you're going to interpret the Nine of Swords in the traditional, like, anxiety way. But this is just really upsetting to me. I don't think the Nine of Swords needs to be that upsetting. I like all three of these. This one, again, if you look really closely, she's got a fucking thigh gap. You wouldn't have that if you're laying on your side. I don't care how fucking skinny you are. I mean, I guess if you are, like, levels of skinny where, like, you probably need to, like, seek a professional's help kind of thing to help put you back together and, you know, change your relationship to food, you might be that skinny. But, like, seriously, and even in the reflection, I don't know if you can see this, but in her reflection, there's a thigh gap. So definitely going to have to do something about that. But I really like this one. This one, there's something to say here. Let's read the guidebook. What do we have to say about the Ten of Swords? A reflection of a figure floats face down, drowning in despair with an old moon fading. Meanwhile, the figure rises above, facing a new moon. Okay. This is the end of tired, worn-out ways of thinking. We can rise above our old, unhealthy victim mentality, supported by the lessons learned. Yeah, I like that. Again, I just feel like this is a deck, like maybe this should be the first in my series of just kind of like deep dive into a deck, if I'm going to do that. I really like that. I really like this too. This is one of my favorite cards in this deck, actually. I don't know, I just really like the idea of like all the swords sticking in a tree stump. The court cards and the swords are my favorite. I just love the, like, we're looking at the life cycle of a crow or raven or whatever. I still don't know the difference. I like it. Curiosity makes sense to me as a page keyword. Love this. I love this. This is one that, like I said about the Nine of Swords with Tarot de Saint Croix, I could see myself every time I think of the Knight of Swords maybe thinking about this card. Just like the idea that a crow is pointing the sword in the direction of where he wants to go. And like, yeah, I'm into that. Love that. Oh my god. Every time I get to the court cards and of the swords, particularly in Spacious Tarot, I'm like, oh, should I keep this deck? But I can't keep this deck because of 4 court cards and a handful of other cards in the Major Arcana that I really like. For me personally, because I have kind of a smaller collection, I only have like 30 tarot decks at this point, and that's kind of too many for me, conceptually. So I really have to like most of the depictions in a deck to keep a deck. I like her. Like, is she supposed to be like Medusa or Athena? That's Athena vibes, right? With the owl. Let's look her up, because I'm sure the guidebook will say. Athena, Greek goddess of wisdom, appears here as if on a Greek vase. An idea about an idea. She is a warrior for truth and justice. The owl sitting on her shoulder represents her clear vision. Medusa on her cloak is an emblem of bravery. I also really like this guidebook and how it just like tells you exactly what's happening. Exactly what's in the imagery. She's fine. I mean, for a Queen of Swords, I would like to see a direct gaze, and she's closing her eyes. I might be able to fix that. Independence? Not sure. Like, yeah, the Queen of Swords is independent, but I don't know. I might choose a different keyword if it were me. Don't like him. I don't know. Just something about his facial features. He doesn't look trustworthy to me. And I think of the King of Swords as very trustworthy, because that's a person that does not, like, waste time on not telling the absolute truth, you know? And again, he doesn't have a direct gaze. He's just kind of looking somewhere off in the distance. You know, I want a confrontational gaze in both the Queen and King of Swords, just personally. Even if it isn't directed at me, you know, like in the RWS, like the Queen of Swords is looking sideways, but she's looking very directly in. She's just direct. Not really into any of these. Again, I am just like I wish more cards in this deck were like this, just showing the light and the dark and the duality and sort of this abstract landscape situation. I am so into it. This is a beautiful card. This one's fine. Sort of the orbits and juxtaposition of the sun and earth. I don't really like this. Again, because anytime you're seeing like something in space, I don't know, I want this whole, obviously it's a spacious tarot, but like tone-wise, this feels weird to me with the rest of the deck. I gotta go faster. My battery's gonna run out in 10 minutes, guys. It's gonna be over, this is gonna be like an hour and 45-minute video. These are all fine. I'm not super into like a gardening Three of Pentacles, like in Santa Muerte Tarot. I don't really like that one either, but that's just me personally. These are all fine. I think this one might be my favorite. Just the idea of like she's creating structures for herself, but they will be washed away. So it sort of gives you this idea of like, no matter how much you protect your stuff, everything is impermanent. This one's sad. Little bleeding coyote or something. This one's sad. This one just like, talk about tonality shift. Like, this one doesn't look like it belongs in this deck to me. And destitution being the key word, like, wow, that's extreme. Despite my discomfort with sexuality, this card doesn't bother me. Because being like actual sex being depicted in the Six of Pentacles, first of all, we don't have to see a penis, which is great. No offense to penis havers. But it's just because of my own, like, you know, trauma and stuff that, like, seeing that is hard for me. So, nothing against penis havers. But, being, like, sexuality depicted in the Six of Pentacles, to me, speaks to giving and receiving. If you're viewing sexuality as being an equal exchange of giving and receiving, then that's how that's supposed to be. You know, that's how sex is supposed to be. That's non-traumatic, consensual sex, right? So this doesn't bother me at all. These other two, like, I don't know, I feel like those are phoned in a little bit. Those depictions of the Six of Pentacles are a little phoned in. This one, evocative of the World card with the Seven of Discs, but what's cool, let's actually pull it out since I'm going to talk about it. I looked at it and I was like, okay, obviously she's doing a chakra thing again, but she could have easily picked the exact same, like, imagery, but she didn't. She didn't just copy and paste. Like, she might have used the same texture, but it's not the exact same. No, wait, maybe it is. It might be, but she altered the imagery a little bit. No? This one is the same. The blue one is the same. The others are different. The texture is slightly different, so it's not the actual exact same imagery. And for some reason, that was important to me that I check on that. And this is evocative of the Wild Unknown Seven of Pentacles, that sort of like gradual progress situation, which I like. This one bugs me. I'm just not into the whole bee thing. I know a lot of people like the whole bee thing, but again, this one just, it feels like a tonality shift in this deck. It doesn't feel, internal consistency is kind of a problem in Spacious Tarot for me personally. Beaver with a dam, that makes sense. Moon phases in the Eight of Pentacles. Never seen it before, but I love it. I don't like this. This is not... Nine of Pentacles is one of my favorite cards. Don't really like this either. It's fine, but this one's the best out of the three. But again, I feel like I'm looking at the author of the deck, which is just distracting for me. I love this. Love it. This is good. That's fine. I need to go faster because I have less than 5 minutes. Okay, we're at the core cards. We're going to be okay. Love the bear energy. That's my second favorite in the core cards of Spacious Tarot. This I don't really get, like, as a Page of Pentacles. I would have to read the guidebook. There's another erect penis. I'm letting this one live for now. I don't like this at all. This is okay. Pregnant Queen of Pentacles. Don't think I've ever seen that. So that's interesting. Not sure how I feel about this. I guess I just need to know what this imagery is, which I would read the guidebook if my battery wasn't about to die, but it is. I love this though. Wow. This is gorgeous. Okay. My battery seems to be going actually faster than... It says I have 2 minutes when just a second ago it said 4. So it's going fast. Thank you guys for watching this incredibly long video. If you made it this far, if you made it this far, give me a green heart in the comments. Thank you so much if you made it this far. Oh, I didn't even say anything about these guys. I like him. This one's just like a little too much going on. Plus, you know I hate monkeys. This one's fine. Here's the backs of the cards. Thank you for watching this incredibly long, incredibly crazy video. Have a great rest of your day. Bye!